I'm Duncan Ferguson and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome to Toffee TV. It is Everton 0, Manchester City 2. The final word. We're here with Matt Jones and we're going to look at a bit of a disappointing game. But Matt, there's not much you can sort of be critical of Everton about in this game. I think Everton were just beaten by a better side.
Yeah, they were absolutely fantastic. You've got to give credit to the opposition first and foremost. They turned up and put in a really accomplished performance, and in the main they stopped our main attacking threats, as we showed so well on the break at Southampton the week before. And from there they had a real foothold in the game, and the three players behind Aguero were all fantastic. I thought they ran us ragged all afternoon, and in particular David Silva. The fixture last year he started off well, but we kind of got a grip of him. But in this game he seemed to really grow into it, and that'll be the only major disappointment from my point of view in terms of the tactics. We didn't quite ever at any point in the game get a grip of him and stop him from dictating, and from there City just kind of took over as the game went on.
Yeah, we spoke last week about trying to keep that same team maybe, or you know, play. Obviously don't want to change a team that wins in such a good style, but like you just said, there was elements of the side that for me were seriously lacking. I mean, Kone playing down the left in front of someone in Brendan Galloway who really isn't a natural left back. I think that left us really short at times.
Yeah, well, I felt a bit sorry for Galloway, to be honest. He was getting a lot of stick off a lot of people, and I think Sagna and Navas were getting on quite a lot, weren't they? And especially with Silva floating over to that side as well. And then it was kind of similar on the other side, down the flanks, because we were so narrow. And although that worked well for us last week, like I said, I didn't really mind the team starting as it was. It's good to keep momentum going and good to keep the same personnel and build relationships. But when you look at the game and how it panned out, I was disappointed that we didn't really make any kind of tactical changes. It was kind of like we were waiting for something to happen as it went on, and kind of just hoping that there was going to be no goals. And it was more like Martinez in his first season was really proactive with substitutions and the way he managed games. He brought players on who would make a difference in matches. Whereas the last couple of seasons, I think he's been a lot more reactive, and that was exactly the case with the changes on Sunday.
Yeah, that was one of the things. It was just, you know, you seen after a couple of minutes, you know, they got a corner, and they just kept on adding to the pressure. You know, Tim Howard's having to make a lot of, basic saves, but they were still getting the opportunities. But it was the fact that, you know, they were being allowed to get down the left so often. And you know, Galloway's a young lad, fundamentally, first and foremost, as a young lad. There's a lot of potential here, you can see that. But number one, it's all about experience. You know, number two, you want someone in front of him who's going to help him. And that just simply wasn't there. And I think that disappointed me. And as you say, they didn't really get to grips with that. You know, they did swap it round and sort of move cleverly around and move Barkley around, but it just felt like square pegs round holes kind of things, rather than bringing subs on to help out. And I just felt like in the game we had a decent setup defensively, but it didn't really help us defensively, and it didn't really help us attacking wise either. Yeah. So it always felt like once Manchester City started turning the screw, there was only ever really going to be one winner.
The balance was off, wasn't it? I think. Right. I was surprised that Cleverley started on the right, to be honest, because last week against Southampton, when we talked on the show about how tenacious he was off the ball and his work rate was good, and that for someone like Brendan Galloway, who's young, he's still in the position, that's vital to have someone in front who can get back and help out in that respect. And to change him for Kone and put him on the right hand side, maybe he was a bit worried about Sterling.
Yeah, I was going to say
down that flank. But I've mentioned before that Kone he's played wide a lot in his career, but that injury seems to have took a lot of industry out of his game. And in the first half, he was a passenger, and you could see that straight away. And I was very surprised when he came out after half time. And bringing on Naismith and playing him on the left when you've got two natural wide players on was a bit of a peculiar move as well, I thought. So yeah, the substitutions weren't great. Tactics were a little bit off, and when you play a team like City and they're on it, you need to get a tactical edge, don't you, to try and get a foothold in the game. Otherwise,
or the other side of it is that you build some kind of momentum, and I don't think we built any kind of momentum. I mean, you remember last season we played really well against them, and then, you know, they went ahead, but I think they scored a goal. For one reason or another, probably shouldn't have been a goal. And then the crowd were on our side, and we scored not long afterwards, and there was a real buzz about the place. But I think, you know, Goodison, there really wasn't any kind of buzz. There was no momentum going. Because I put that down to the way we play. You know, obviously they're playing with Navas on one side, Sterling on the other, so there's plenty of pace out there. And by trying to just get a grip of that, it just left us with nothing going forward. I think sometimes, especially when you play at home, and this was very un-Martinez as well, was he decided to sort of worry about City first. And as you mentioned there, normally Martinez is the kind of manager who thinks we'll let them worry about us.
Yeah.
And it felt the other way around yesterday, and it always felt like, especially in the second half, that it was a matter of when, not if, Manchester City got a goal.
I had no problem with us being cohesive and solid and sitting in, because if you look at them in the first couple of games, they've been outstanding, haven't they? And the way they've played, and they've got the hunger back and the desire, you can see that they're all united behind the cause, and they've been playing really well. So I think I was happy with the first 55 minutes and how we got in the game. But there's only so long a team like them, you can just sit back and invite them onto you, because eventually they will get through and they will break you down. So from 55 minutes onwards, I thought maybe bring someone on like Morales on, maybe get Naismith on a little bit earlier, change the system a little bit to give us a bit more of a foothold in the match. But it didn't really happen. It felt like the whole, you said there, the whole stadium was kind of waiting for something to happen.
It was flat, wasn't it? I mean, I think we were unlucky. I mean, the offside decision on Rom, I mean, it's tight. Tight. But when you see decisions like we've seen at Anfield last week, you just think, well, where's the justice? Because it was literally like his foot was offside. So yeah, he is. I mean, I'm not even going to say technically he was offside. He was offside, but you just think some days those break for you and you need them, and some days they don't. And even his free kick, just clipping the bar like that, some days they just go in top corner, and it's a completely different game then, especially when they score first half. And rather than sort of, well, they took it as a warning, didn't they? They said, that there's the warning, and they come out flying second half, and we just couldn't get to grips with it. And the irony is, talking about Brendan Galloway, I thought when he went off, that made a big change to the game as well, because Brown and coming onto left back. I mean, he's not a full back. He's a centre back, and so playing on the wrong side and play full back, he just didn't get to grips with it at all. And it's mad, isn't it? We've had Baines for years, week in, week out, never a problem, and now we're on our fifth choice left back within the space of 3 weeks into the season.
Over the summer, you're looking at our left backs thinking, we're absolutely fine there, we're well covered. We've got Free, and then Galloway, he came through as well. So it's just a bit of bad luck, isn't it, as well? But I think Gareth Barry probably would have gone there against most other teams, but pace. I think he was worried about the pace of Navas, and we'd seen he was getting at Galloway quite a lot in that half, and I felt really sorry for Brown, and to be honest, he came on and you could just see his positioning and his awareness in that role just wasn't up to scratch.
There was an interesting moment in the second half where Phil Jagielka actually went into left back for a couple of minutes, and I was thinking, is he going to stick with this? And it actually feels like he probably could have left Jagielka there, because Jagielka's actually quite fast. He's a lot faster than people think he is. He's also very experienced and knows how to defend, and he's also very good at, I suppose, he organises really well. He would know the player in front of him, when to get back, and that might have actually worked. Okay, it would have been difficult for Brown and up against someone like Aguero, but you just wonder if it would have been the lesser of two evils to put Jagielka out there, just to try and, just because there was no one in front of the fullbacks all day.
Yeah, it was like you said, the options are so limited, aren't they? The purely thing for me was that Martinez said afterwards that Oviedo's fully fit and he's ready to play. So when you've got no natural cover on the bench for that position, and there's a young lad there, that was a bit strange for me.
Yeah.
Another thing as well, it could have been a nice time to change the system. Maybe go to 3 centre backs, considering that we were struggling in the game. It might have been an ideal time to.
Well, I thought that as well. I thought 3 at the back could have actually worked. Well, we had 3 centre backs on for a start. You've got Coleman on the other side, and you. What, especially being one down, I mean, what would have been the issue in saying, right, we're going to go for it now? Maybe Barry wouldn't be in the answer playing left back, because, okay, against a team like Watford, when you've got the momentum going forward, you've got the crowd, they're looking to dig in. And, okay, Man City, completely different ball game. They controlled the ball really well and used it, and they've got the outlet of those two players. So I think 3 at the back could have worked. And I know it's weird, because when he first came in, there was a lot of talk about 3 at the back, and he said himself, I wouldn't mind trying this at times. And he's never he's never sort of gone for it. And there was a little spell actually last season over Christmas where there was times he did do it, but you just think he talks about technical flexibility all the time, and yeah. So you just think why doesn't he go for it?
He might not think we've got the personnel for it. It might be because he didn't think he had anyone to play on that left wing back role without Oviedo. You don't know, but I just felt like at that point in the game, something, just a little change in the system, a little formation shift, could have maybe helped us get a foothold in it.
Definitely. And you mentioned obviously the substitution. Koenig went off just after they got that goal. Naismith, it was a strange one because it felt like he was coming on to shore up that left-hand side. But when you think we were 1-0 down at that point, City had been fantastic all of the second half. I mean, literally when City come out that second half, from the minute they were straight into us, they were probing all those weaknesses. They were after Galloway. They knew on the other side that he trying to get me words off. Seamus Coleman was isolated as well. It just felt like a strange substitution.
I think he was crying out for Morales personally, and I mentioned on the show last week that I would definitely start him in this game because even though he's not the most prolific, he's not the most willing defensively. I think he's got the legs to get back, and he knows to position well playing on that left flank, and he knows how to get back and cover the defender. He's a lot more savvy in there, and even though people think, he's going forward, he doesn't like to get back. It's having those instincts to play in those positions as well that could have been vital and lending a little bit more support. And to think of all the players we had on the bench as well, he's the most likely going to come on. And I know Naismith's done it in the past, but for someone who's going to fill that role on the left hand side and go for a goal as well, I was very surprised he didn't get on.
And it's the other side of it, isn't it? It's him going forward. It's him giving them something to think about. We didn't do that enough. We just never got going forward. We didn't give them enough to think about on either wing. And that was one of the big problems for me. But going back, I want to talk about the City goal, the first one, because numerous problems with this goal. Numerous problems. I mean, first of all, you've got John Stones effectively in the right back position, cleverly not tracking the run really of Kolarov as well. Kolarov's made a run of 70 yards or something stupid like that, and it's not tracked at any point by cleverly lets him go. Jagielka being why is he so deep? He would, if he'd stepped up, he's the captain, he should know the line, he would have made him offside. There's all those little things, but obviously the main problem is the goalkeeper for me. I mean, we've spoke plenty of times with the goalkeeper last season personally. I think personally, there's no way Kolarov should be scoring from there. No way on earth should the goalkeeper be getting beat at his near post with literally no room. And it's something you mentioned to me. It's the fact that the goalkeeper is now guessing rather than reacting. He's thinking about where the ball would go in a general. So he's thinking he's going to whip that across the front, and he's using this experience and thinking that. Whereas for me, a younger goalie, certainly the new type, your Harts, your De Gea's, your Lloris, they react to the ball. The ball is kicked and they're reacting. Whereas Tim Howard now, I think, is reacting in his head and thinking, right, this ball's going to go across the box, and that's what's beating him.
Well, I seen a tweet after the game. Somebody said he was doing commentary for NBC last week, and he was talking about Kolarov's crossing and how he's brilliant at whipping the ball in from the byline. So you just wonder if that's in his head a little bit. But even so, I mean, you talk about all the mistakes, and I think that's probably a product of being under pressure for so long, and there's tiredness in the team, and those sorts of
chasing the whole game.
Those sorts of errors do creep in. Yeah. But as a goalkeeper, to be beaten at your near post like that, when I think there's a lot of pictures of him standing up at the front post and he's got it covered, and he kind of
starfish.
He does move out the
way.
Starfish
is the word here. It's the starfish again.
Yeah, the irony of that first goal and the one afterwards, which I'm sure we're going to come on to, is the only time when he made a good save in the match from Navas when Stone and Brown had collided and he went through on goal. And he stands up, big, and he stands up and he stays there, and he waits for the attacker to make his shot, and then he reacts like you just mentioned, and it hits him and he makes a save. Whereas when the other two goals, he's almost like he's trying to second guess. And I know he made a lot of good saves in the match, and a lot of people think we're getting on his back a little bit, but That is a rudimentary error for a goalkeeper.
There's no way. There's no way on earth Kolarov should be scoring from there. No way on earth. There's no angle. And literally, if he just stood next to his post, he couldn't have scored. We said, I complained about him a lot last season, and he started the season. He finished the season decently, and he started the season well. But that is something you cannot let any player get away with. It, to make a basic error like that. He literally could have stood next to that post, and Kolarov wouldn't have had anywhere to put that ball. And yet he's jumped up in the air doing this starfish thing that he does, and the ball's just gone through him again. And I can't let him get away with that. There's no way I can let him get away with that. Funny enough, he was man of the match in the lounges, and I met him after the game, but that's a different story. But you can't. For me, as I say, what it is, it's a goalie reacting to where he thinks it's going to go, not to where it is going to go, and that is down to age, and that is down to the fact that he's losing those reactions, that speed, that reaction that a younger goalie would have. And I think that's a major problem now, because I know it gets used all the time, but these footballs now are so fast and they move in such a weird way that I don't think you can do that anymore. I don't think you can see a shot hit now and know where it's going to end up, because there's that much movement on these things now, and they move so fast in the air. I think we're in a different age now, and Kolarov has got no right to put that ball where he put it and expect to score, and yet it's gone right through Tim Howard.
Yeah, well, the other thing about Kolarov as well, we all know he's a great crosser of the ball, but he is a player. Anyone who's watched Man City at all, he shoots from all sorts of angles, doesn't he?
He did one in the first half. He tried to shot in the volley.
Exactly, yeah, he does it all the time. He shoots from crazy angles, from far out, and as a goalkeeper, if you've done your homework on the players, then you should know that. And I wonder if he's just a little bit too cushy in his position, because we've seen Robles come in around January time last year. He kept 3 clean sheets in a row, didn't really put a foot wrong, and Tim Howard comes straight back into the team straight away. And you just wonder if that complacency's kind of creeped into his game a little bit. And he took a hiatus after the World Cup from the international.
He's going back.
He's going back again now. But you just wonder if he's kind of took his foot off the pedal a little bit, because he's since last season, I think, was probably his worst of his Everton career. I'd say without doubt.
It was horrendous.
And already 3 games into the season, and we're looking at 2 games now where we're saying in the Watford game he probably should have saved the second goal, and he should have done much better for both goals at the weekend. And if he's not going to get brought out of the team or dropped, what motivation is there really for him?
You go back to January, Roberto Martinez said he was looking for a new goalkeeper, and basically he did say he wanted a first choice goalkeeper. That's what he said. So there was a lot of talk. There was a couple of deals that were close that never went through, and then Roberto gets to the end of the season. Tim Howard had a few decent games, and Roberto Martinez says, "Well, I'm not looking for a goalkeeper now. I've got a young up and keeping goalkeeper, and I've got someone who I can rely on." And as you just said there, there doesn't seem to be any pressure on him now. Robles played a few pre-season games, and that was it. A couple of pre-season games here and there, and that was it. There's no sort of suggestion that the goalie's banging the door, the manager's door down to get in.
That for me personally is a massive concern about the manager, and we've mentioned before, if you can't see something that's that blatantly obvious, and you've got a player who's been a great servant for us. I think he's been a really good player for Everton, but he seems to be costing us now every other week with a goal or an error. And when you've got a player who's come into the team and done well and gets straight back out again, I don't know what that says about the rest of the squad and their positions, whether players will think, oh, if I come in and the senior player gets fit again, I'll be straight back off the team anyway. So it can't be good for team morale, it can't be good for the competitive aspect of the squad as well. So I think this whole goalkeeper situation and the fact that he's not addressed it, either by bringing Howard out or getting a replacement, is a big concern for me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Listen, Tim Howard is a big character. He's obviously a big presence within the dressing room. He's a big part of it. A lot of people probably watching this thinking we're being very, very picky on him because of all those other saves he made, and he did make a lot of good saves. But you look at the saves he made and you think, how many of they, if they'd gone in, would you be thinking he should have saved that? Do you know what I mean? They were all saves that you were thinking he should have saved that. And that's what makes the Kolarov one so bad. It's because you look at it and go, how was he beaten from there? How did the ball get through the player from there? There's nothing I can really say.
On both goals, it looks like I'm sure he didn't, but it looks as though he's actively getting out of the way of the shots, which is probably the worst thing possible.
And we've seen a lot of that last season where it looked like he was...
I mean, the second goal, there's a photo, which I've seen today, and he's got his hands by his sides, and he's got his eyes closed. It looks... He's kind of going out of the way of the ball. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm picking on him personally.
I just saw the second goal very quickly. Yeah. I thought the second goal, again, like, I think he should have just gone through the ball and gone through Nasri. I think he's been far too nice. I think he should just go through the pair of them. But he comes and stops like he's going to make a save. And then Nasri, lovely little dink over him. And you're just thinking, no, go and get the ball and take the ball and take the man. And if you take the man out, it won't be a penalty because you got the ball. And there you go. But he comes out and he tiptoes out. And like you said, he closes his eyes. And it's almost like he's guessing that the ball is going to go and he go one place. The player's more alive to it. The player's more alert to it. He just dinks it over.
Again, it's a lot of it's about putting the forward under pressure as well. I think Gary Neville did a great feature on Monday Night Football last year on De Gea and how he stands up in those situations. Whereas if you come rushing out like that, with your hands down by your side, it's it was a good little finish, but it makes it a lot easier.
Makes it a lot easier. So I mean, we've thrown Tim out under the bus for the second goal as well. But I mean, it wasn't just his fault. I mean, Browning gets caught out.
It was a superb world class pass as well. To be fair,
yeah. But the ball from Toure was amazing. The little the sort of no look reverse pass. It was a brilliant ball. Browning obviously gets caught sort of. I don't know. What can you say? The kid's playing out of position. It's McCarthy gets caught out as well. Not really tracking Nasri's run as well. So there was a comedy of errors there. But it is that those sort of like the last minute of the game and the team were pushing to try and get up. And I suppose we've been unlucky really because at 1-0, Hart comes for the corner, completely misses it, and you think that could hit Lukaku on any other day and bounce straight in. We could have had a penalty in the second half as well. When Mangala, his knee is very high. It is. I was going to say that. That for me, I watched it again today, and Jagielka, the crowd more scream forward, and Jagielka throws the arm, but that was a knee in the back.
We've seen it. He did the same similar thing on Etu, didn't he, last season, where he had I think it was his foot there that time, wasn't it? It studs in the back, and I thought that was a real rash one.
I thought it was a bit of a shout.
The referees don't really like to give them ones, do they? It's very rare you get one like that.
I mean, obviously Barry had one cleared off the line as well by Company and another decent header, but as you meant, 1-0 down, they just, I mean. He didn't bring Delafeu on until 4 minutes to go. And that's another strange. For me, there just wasn't enough, and it's very sort of un-Martinez. There wasn't enough. It was all about trying to keep a shape and trying to be nice and trying to stop Man City. Where you would think with Martinez, it should be more about let's go for it. Last 20 minutes. If we get beat 4-0, we get beat 4-0, we get beat 1. It's the same as 1-0. Let's have a real go with these and see what we can do. And let's. You know yourself, Goodison Park. It can be very quiet at times, and it can be rubbish when it's quiet. And I thought it was pretty quiet yesterday. Man City fans, doing a lot of the same.
In the lounge.
I had a bird's eye view of it, but from where I'm sitting, it was quiet, and I didn't feel like the team created enough momentum to get the fans up because I think. We've become that kind of crowd now where we just don't create the noise on our own. We need something to happen, whether it be a tackle or an incident or the way the team played. And there just wasn't that urgency in the second half. And the fact that they didn't bring Delafeu on, I did want to bring him about 5 minutes earlier, I will say that, but he just couldn't get on to the point where Delafeu was actually prodding the fourth official to when I think we got a corner and Martinez had to say, no, you're not coming on. But we just didn't create enough momentum going forward to inject the crowd with some kind of impetus to get to. It was very flat.
And I know what you mean. I think if
we could have been top of the league, for God's sake.
Yeah. I mean, if we started someone like Moraes or got him or Delafeu on earlier, that, like you said there, even though we were worried about City going the other way, in turn, when you've got a player like that on who's good going forward, that'll pin their fullbacks back a little bit as well. And I'm not really got a problem with us being a bit defensive and trying to play on the break because it worked so well for us last week and because of how many attacking quality players they've got. But they shut those breaks down really well, and I think Ross Barkley had a good game, but Fernandinho, as soon as he was turning and getting forward, he was on him all the time, shutting him down.
Big compliment to him, that.
And from there, it was it was a good compliment, and but from there, because we didn't have a player with
no width.
Guile,
every time
we
Ross
didn't have any
Barkley,
width.
Every time Ross Barkley got the ball, he wanted, because City, when you only have to look at City's players, they're all huge. And every time Ross Barkley got that ball, he turned and looked to the wing, and normally there's a Seamus Coleman flying forward, or normally there's a Baines flying forward, and there just weren't them options. Coleman tried to get forward, but he was isolated. He was on his own a lot. So where you normally have someone creating a space for Seamus Coleman, that wasn't there, and that's where Ross got caught a couple of times, because he's looking for that ball and it wasn't there. So I just thought it was flat from that point of view. But it was it reminded me of like David Moyes kind of performance.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, we normally beat Manchester City, but when we played those top teams, it was almost like taking to a knife to a gunfight kind of situation. We just never really got going, and we never really had a go. But the compliments I would say is that I think Man City, after watching them yesterday, I think they're going to win the league, because they've got that thing. They've got it between between the teeth, and I think winning the first three, and I think they're probably going to bring in a couple more players this week, and I think they're just going to be very, very strong, and having the pace on either side. I mean, obviously the key is to keep Aguero fit, but if they can keep him fit, and you've got Bowen off the bench, I think they're going to go very close. So I think we just have to lick our wounds and get on with it, because I just think it was one of those games. Sometimes you everything falls for you, and you can beat a team like that, and it just wasn't meant to be.
That was it. If a couple of different things go our way there, we could have easily gone 1-0 up in that game. But in the same respect, we just mentioned, I think they were quite wary he was on the break. They played as Martinez would probably say himself, a lot of football and compliment. But it was an outstanding performance from them. It was almost like Chelsea-esque from last season. They were very meticulous in the passing. They were strong in defence, and I never really felt like we were going to score in the match. Unfortunately.
And no one likes to get beat at home. I think that makes it weird. But I think City they're gonna dominate most games this season.
I don't think anyone would have come out of the ground yesterday saying we played terrible. We played terrible. Sometimes I've just got to hold your hands up and say.
There's about £500 million worth of difference on the pitch. The benches, you have to look at the benches, and I just think it was one of those days. It's disappointing to lose your first game of the season at home, and as I say, you just got to lick our wounds and get on with it. It's not about beating those teams necessarily. Okay, if you want to win the league and you want to finish top four, realistically, that's not where we're going to finish. It is about beating the Southamptons. It is about beating Spurs next week. It is about getting the points. But I don't think too many teams are going to beat Man City this season. So it is disappointing. It wasn't a great performance, but I think he can look at where the issues were and take the positives and learn from it.
That's it. He's got to learn going forward. I mean, I had no problem with him keeping the same team. Would like to see Ross maybe come in, but next time at home, give us a bit of whiff and try and push them back a little bit more.
Definitely, I think that's definitely the number one thing to take from it, is that team like Chelsea or Manchester City, they're gonna come to Goodison Park and probably 75% of the time beat you anyway, so you might as well have a go. Maybe that's the only thing to take from. Tell us what you think in the comments anyway. Tell us on YouTube, don't forget, on Twitter as well, it is @ToffeeTV1. Don't forget to subscribe. We've just gone over 4,000, we're aiming for 5,000, so make sure you subscribe if you already haven't. You're probably sitting there going, I watch every video but I haven't subscribed. Make sure you do. Big thanks for Matt coming in as well and talking about the Manchester City game. We'll be back soon on Toffee TV.